Shandril, we're going to be talking about Season 3 launch. Let's get into kind of the meat and potatoes of it. Everyone's excited for Season 3. And for the viewers, can you share a little bit about what day and time the Season 3 launch is anticipated for?
Oh, Season 3? What's that? I don't know what you're talking about. We're launching something? No, we are. You haven't
been busy at all, right? You've been
no,
yeah,
no, it's not at all. So we will be launching Season 3 March 29th. So in about 2 weeks. Time has yet to be announced. I think it'd be a good bet to kind of look at our past launches, which I want to say is like 6 a.m. Central is kind of a good guessing point of when we'll launch. We'll do an official event in the Discord whenever we have the extra time. Good to go. But yeah, so it's been kind of all hands on deck. Everybody's working really, really hard on the team. Can't thank enough for the people that have been testing, filing bugs. Been very, very helpful. And so we're super excited to officially launch. Obviously, super nervous. Launch time is very stressful for the team, but I'm hoping for a smooth launch. So fingers crossed.
That's awesome. I see already some people in the chat thanking you for the early announcement so they can get some vacation time scheduled.
Good. That's good.
That's always important. You know, I've already taken that weekend. I'm like, well, don't talk to me that weekend, friends or family. I am ready to game.
Yeah, my fiance is a little. I told her, don't worry, I'm just going to be hiding in here all weekend. So she said I think she's going to go out and have a girls' weekend or something. So
I think previously I'm on Pacific time, so you guys really try to accommodate me by launching it at 5 a.m. in the morning, Season 1 and 2. So I'm up at 4:45 a.m. with my gamer fuel in hand, and everyone's sitting in a Discord ready to push play. Have you guys decided on an exact time yet? Or are you guys still kind of looking at what works?
I think probably about that same time. Sorry about that. We'll officially announce something. Yeah, right. Get that coffee ready. Basically, we have to make sure it works for all the devs. And one great thing about launch, I guess, I'm positive on the other side of the fence, is that we've had a few devs over the years. Don't really have the time to dedicate to the project, so they'll come back and we'll kind of hang out in the morning, drink our coffee, and catch up, which is always nice. So kind of got to figure out the time that works for everybody. But I think probably what we've done previously would be right around then. So get your coffee ready is what I'm telling you.
Awesome. I'm going to bed early. Going to bed early. So out of curiosity, this was a pretty I think compared to like the Season 1 to Season 2 beta period, this felt pretty quick. Is there any particular reason you chose this date, or any goals or targets you had in mind?
So code-wise, this is so much code that went into this season. I hope everybody's kind of seen a lot of the new features and such. So it's just been really smooth. We fully expected a lot more crashing and just kind of rollbacks and just bad stuff, but it was a really smooth experience. Like, we just surprised the code worked so well. Knock on wood. Hopefully it doesn't show itself in production on launch. But yeah, it's just been a really smooth kind of beta period, and so we wanted to get through it as fast as possible. And so yeah, it's been pretty good. I think we've hit most of our kind of our guesstimated landmarks, so to speak, and so actual launch date kind of came up from when we got a lot of people traveling on the team for work, and so this one just kind of made sense for everybody to be kind of in the same spot, which is definitely needed for something as stressful as launch. So kind of what came to be.
That's awesome. I remember when I think the last time we had kind of talked was at the end of Season 2, and we were talking about what's coming for Season 3, and one of the first things that I think you were able to share some information on was a review and a revamp of the Relics and the Relic system.
Yes.
So in kind of looking at what Relics, what changes were made to the Relic system, you were able to give a little bit of hints before, but you definitely framed it under the Relic system is going to be tied very closely to a lot of the different initiatives happening in all of this. So now that we have a lot more information and there's been more development there, can you give us a quick overview of what that Relic system has evolved into now here for season 3?
Yeah, I guess I can actually talk instead of kind of talking in the shadows, so to speak. I don't know. I don't think that's a phrase, but let's go with it. Yeah, so what we've done is, relics are probably, obviously it's like the end game of Dark Age of Camelot. Very, very important. We found that traditionally, the 10% bonus on relics is very much like a railroading mechanic. Is if a team that's probably has the relics, probably has more people, and you're giving them a 20% damage bonus, you're just going to have an imbalanced, unfun gameplay experience for everybody. So we kind of talked with a lot of different players, talked internally about, how can we kind of give relics a little bit more of a meaning in Season 3. And so it kind of came tied to this campaign system based on relic ownership. So what we've done is we've introduced this really cool campaign system that lets players kind of touch different parts of the game to kind of level up this campaign level. And at the end of the campaign, it's traditionally a week, what we do is we look at the relic ownership, and based on what your campaign level is and how long you've owned relics for during that time, you'll get like an RP bonus for the relic ownership based on your campaign contributions. So basically, long story short, if you hold and defend relics, you will get RPs at the end of the campaign. And so we've had a really, really positive feedback from that system. The campaign system has been really well received, and I really like it personally because it kind of lets us add new content throughout the season, and you can, intrinsically you can add rewards to that content by, tying it to a campaign objective or making a new campaign quest. So kind of building out these systems from the bottom up and letting us kind of build them in an extendable manner, meaning like we can content drop throughout the season. I'm very excited to see kind of what we can do with it and continue to make it, more and more fun. And yeah, kind of where it came from.
That's awesome. I appreciate the backdrop and thought process behind that, because I think that adds some color to, it's not just here's a change we thought was good, but like this is what we were looking at, how we were thinking about the problem, and what the reception has been so far. And so probably a lot of these are going to be about the reception of it all.
Yeah, definitely.
A good question on this topic, and I might actually be pulling from some of the chat questions in here. We're going to jump right into the campaigns side of this, which the relics are going to be tied to. Is the campaign per character or per account or per realm? How does that?
Yeah, I'll just give like a little breakdown for it. So like kind of going back to the whole goal of the campaign system was trying to get players to engage in content. Like Dark Age of Camelot, a lot of people play in their own little silos sometimes. They'll log in and they're only going to do one type of play style, which is fine. But what we wanted to do is kind of incentivize, there's this awesome game out there. There's so many different things to do. So like go, try out different things. So the whole point of the campaign was basically kind of tie it to Relic. So the more you help the realm, the more of like a reward you get from Relic ownership. So that was kind of the first idea we kind of ran with. And the second thing was how to basically, get players involved throughout the entire game, but don't force them to do something they don't want to do, right? So for instance, a lot of players like small man fights or, fair fights and such. So there's a whole entire track of campaign leveling that you can do. Just, you can just engage in those fair fight types of situations. And eventually, you'll work up your campaign contribution to a point where, you might reach that level 10 point, which is the max contribution level. But also there's a lot of, I think there's like 10 different campaign kind of things you can do at this point. So if you do a little bit of everything, you probably progress faster than the person that just does one kind of play style. So with all that being said, it basically kind of lets us introduce new content and tie it to the campaign, so kind of players have a new trek to kind of explore. Yeah, again, I'm just kind of repeating myself, but yeah, that's kind of the idea, and it's been really, really well received. I'm just, you just kind of log in, just play the game, and you get little pop-ups like, oh, I got some kind of new level for, it took a tower and it went up a level. That's cool. I think it just feels good is the feedback I've had.
I like the variety of it, and I'll say this: I don't always have as much time today to play as much as I did back when I was in high school. But I do remember, there was a time where I loved running out there and soloing on my Scald, and then when my group logged in, I loved doing the 8v8 content. And then there was a Relic raid that happened, and I was going on. I was like, "Oh, let's go and jump in on top of that." And to see that there are ways of advancing the campaign quest credit, and to continue to get more rewards from your participation in a variety of aspects, I think is like really cool with that system. It really makes it feel accommodating to different play styles, whether you only want to play one because you can advance multiple levels through the same one, or if you want to do some variety and get a few levels across a spectrum of campaign quests. Am I framing that correctly?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you hit it right. I mean, that's exactly kind of what I think would be a really fun play session. Is someone logs in, maybe you're waiting for your guild to log in, so maybe you do some small frontline missions. You turn in supplies, which obviously we'll talk about that later. It's a whole different system too on top of it. But then your group logs in, so you engage some content with them. You're getting frontline kills, you're getting some fair fights. Maybe do some missions, go take a keep, participate in a relic defense. All that bubbles up to the kind of this campaign reward at the end of the campaign. And so that's exactly what you said. Is let's celebrate this awesome game, all these different play styles. Let's have everybody kind of come together, try different things, and it should be fun. You should be like kind of hit on the side of the head to go do something. That was kind of our idea. So don't force a play style on someone. Kind of just reward all of them.
So with regards to the rewards, and I just want to make sure it's clarified here. I'll give you an example. Let's say I log on my Scald and I do a bunch of solo content in the campaign and I get some levels there. And then I go play my healer because I'm going to end up 8v8ing and they need someone to carry them. And so there I am on pack again. No, and then let's say there's a relic raid going on. I'm like, I'm going to go log on my Rune Master and cast some bolts and brainlessly get some kills. If I'm doing all of these different things and features and that's what I want to do, is the leveling per character? Does each character get their own rewards, or is it shared across that account, essentially that entire realm of accounts?
That's a really good question. So it's per character. So the rewards are going to be per character. Each character gets their own kind of campaign trek. So you would get, like, if you logged on the Rune Master for Relic Defense, you would get the Relic Defense credit. Your healer would get the carry credit for the fair fights.
Carry credit, yes. I love that.
Maybe I'll call it
credit card.
No. Yeah, there you go.
Perfect. No, that helps. That helps explain that a lot. And I like the idea to we were talking about on the topic of season 3. I should have asked this earlier on, just to reiterate for everyone on the stream. There are some attributes that are carrying over from season to season for your characters, and some things that are not. Do you want to kind of just give a brief overview of this is what's carrying over, and this is kind of what's resetting, so everyone has the same kind of fundamental understanding there?
Yes, I think it's probably good to. I'll go with just in your head, everything resets except your character name and the race and starting stats. Everything's leveled to 1. You lose every single item unless it was a house trophy that you had already put into a seasonal vault, which were available for, I think, like the last month and a half of the season. So if you haven't used those, sorry, too late. And then obviously your realm rank carries over. In order to save your name, like your character, you need to get level 50, or I believe it was 2L4 at least before your character to get carried over. So yeah, the most important thing, and your crafting, or crafting's account wide. So let's say you had a character that you made to level 45, but it was like your spellcrafter. It doesn't matter they didn't reach level 50 because your that spellcrafting credit is for the account. So when you start your character in season 3, your account will still have spellcrafting, etc. I think that sums it all up. Hopefully.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I think you learned realm points, character name, crafting skills, titles, and some trophies that were placed in that special vault.
Yeah. And I guess while we're here is I know we're getting a lot of new players, and welcome. Very happy to have you on Eden. It's going to be important to know that we have a rolling realm rank cap. for each season, meaning that coming out the gate, especially if you're a newer player, you won't be against like realm rank 12, realm rank 13 players. Instead, each week there's going to be more and more RPs will be unlocked. So I think the first week, I want to say it's about 100K for the first month, meaning like every Sunday at a certain time, the next 100K RPs will be unlocked. So you'll get those realm rank points. We'll probably be publishing the schedule. Not going to put any. Not going to 100% say we're going to publish it. I'm not sure if we've done it yet, but it's going to be the same as season 2 with the unlock time. And just want to give a shout out. It's a very common question in Discord. It's a very good question since seasons are kind of it's relatively new still.
Awesome. Yeah, that's I appreciate the breakdown of that too, because I think that was going to be. I might have forgotten about that. It's good to know that and I really like that system because it does make it feel fairer for new players, but also gives everyone kind of a chance to be on the same playing field, whether they're playing a character they've been playing for 2 seasons or they want to try a new character and not feel like they're
exactly
struggling.
I'm probably the most biased person when it comes to Eden, right? But I hate leveling in Dark Age of Camelot, but I really love leveling on Eden. I'm very biased, and so if you're like me and you like to level alts, then you won't be too far behind come season launch. So
love it. That's awesome.
Yes, stay there. Yeah.
This is just to again get a question out from the chat here. Is there a defined time for how long season 3 is intended to last? Like, is it supposed to end at the end of the year in December, or is it more of a based on the needs of the server at that time or how things are rolling?
Oh man, I'm hoping it goes for 10 years. I am exhausted. But no, so what we'll do is, like we've always done, is we plan each season to be indefinite, so to speak. And then, kind of just look at the server as a whole. Things have gotten super stale. Population has kind of gone below like a threshold. Then, we'll start thinking of a new season. So yeah, there's no indefinite time. If the whole thing sucks and, is awful, then, maybe it'll last one day. I don't know. But yeah,
I think that's a fair answer, though. It seems like it's more based on the needs of than a predefined ending. Okay,
for sure. Yeah. Good question, though.
Yeah, thank you guys in the chat there. You guys thought a lot more than I have.
Well, I kind of laugh. It was like, I think season 2, people were like saying like, "Oh yes, I've heard season 2 will end on this date," and I would just laugh because they know something I don't, because I had no idea when season 2 was going to end. It's fucking like. They're saying in like February it was going to end in March. It's like, what? Okay, I didn't know that.
I love it. Rumor mills they travel quickly.
Yeah, they do.
So let's talk about the campaigns. On the screen right now, I have like a couple of the cool objectives that exist out in the front lines during the campaigns, and I think we have like on the left side this behemoth objective. I think on the right we have this extinction objective, and there's a few more that are out there. Give us a quick overview of kind of some of the objectives in there, some of the goals and intents, and maybe what are some of the rewards that people can expect participating in both the objective and the campaign.
Yeah, okay. So so the big thing with season 3 is we've introduced this Frontlines System, which is kind of basically helping kind of I guess it's kind of like an RVR expansion. I mean, it's a whole expansion in my eyes. So we've introduced this idea of war supplies that you can obtain from doing objectives around the map. You take the war supply, you deposit it into a tower or keep. You get a certain amount, you can buy certain war boons, like a siege golem. You can reinforce doors, all this cool stuff. And so we'll start with these missions here. So if you're in game and you look at the Realm War map, you'll see in one of the realms that there's like icons like cups and alb, trees and hib, hammers and mid, and the size of these. I don't know, icons, there we go. The size of these icons will correspond to the difficulty of the mission. So basically, you could have a behemoth that's, we internally call it a large size mission, which means that mission is probably going to need like, 8 people plus for this mission. And what's going to happen? You're going to do it. Behemoths are kind of like a somewhat scripted boss, decently hard PvE encounter. And after you defeat the behemoth, there will be a participation pool distributed based on how many people did it and their contribution to the objectives. Think like Warhammer Online, like public quests. Very, if you everybody played that game. And then you're going to get RPs from that, and then there's going to be these war supplies that drop based on the difficulty of the mission. And so war supplies are a new concept. It's basically like a minnow relic. Like pick it up, if you die, it drops, etc. And it's a timed item. So you take those war supplies, you deposit wherever you want, any tower keep you own. And when you deposit that, you also get additional RPs for depositing these items. That's kind of the gist of the system. And so the whole goal of this is, the current implementation is as simple as it's going to be, in the sense that I think there's like 4 or 5 types of missions right now. Hoping, once again, everything's been kind of built out so we can extend it throughout the season, just do content drops. Helldivers 2, great game. They do a great thing with this, where you just log in, suddenly you got there's bugs that are flying above you, and you're like, where the heck did that come from? I would love to do stuff like that throughout the season. Like, why even drop patch notes? Just have a dragon flying around. You're like, where the heck did that come from? But long story short, so the extinction mission is very similar to Deserters. You go to the camp. You kill, I think, based on the difficulty, it's like 5, 10, 15, 20 of these mobs. And then after a minimum time, so I think it's really quick. It's like 5 minutes. The camp will begin to leave, and then supplies will drop if you kill the allocated amount. We went over behemoths. There are scout missions, which are the season 2 scout mission. These will have 2 varieties of like smaller size and larger size, with basically you go to kill a scout. An enemy AI group will come to defend it. You'll get some AI yourself. You have a battle. If you're successful, you'll get RPs and some war supplies. And then there's a current broken one that is the Marauder Chief, where unfortunately he really loves to summon AI. It's his favorite thing in the world, and sometimes he'd summon like 100 AI that would just like keep paradropping from the sky. He's going to be reintroduced, hopefully fixed, but it's going to be basically kind of a scaled encounter based on the number of people, where if I go attack this with 5 people, I'm going to get 5 neutral realm AI are going to attack me. Like, basically it's a PvP realm, so to speak, so it could be like a mixed group. They don't have any allegiance, so unlike the scout missions where you can kind of outnumber each other. So what am I trying to say? It's like if I'm in a Midgard group of 5 and we do a scout mission, we're going to have 10 mids because I'm going to get 5 defenders with me versus 5 alps, right? So if I'm a hip group swinging by, I'm not going to go in there. That's craziness. It's like there's so many mids. The Marauder Chief is going to be like a neutral faction. So basically, I'm 5 alps. I'm fighting 5 AI for this Marauder Chief. They're 5 renegades. And then another group can come, and they're going to be, then it's like a 5v5v5 situation. That's kind of the idea. And those bots are those bots are a little bit more difficult too. So I've been having to rate in their difficulty. Talk about the AI all day. I'll do a spiel later on them. But man, sorry, I just good coffee. Yeah, cheers to this mug.
No, I love it. Yeah. You mentioned that some of these monsters, like the extinction stuff, or some of the AI, function a little bit like the renegades or the deserters. Are these mobs going to be able to drop Deserter Mytherians? How are we going to be getting Deserter Mytherians in season 3?
That is a really, really good question. I'm glad you asked that. So yes, they will be tied to behemoths, and I believe they will be tied to extinction missions. I'll definitely post an announcement with how to obtain those. Because obviously deserters aren't there at the moment. So yeah, they'll be tied to kind of Frontlines missions for sure.
Awesome.
And also campaign chests. So basically, kind of skipped over that. Sorry. There's 3 tiers of campaign credit you can get. Level 10 is the max. So basically, level 1 through 5, you'll get like a call it like a minor participation key. Level 5 through 9, you'll get like a medium participation key. I forget what it's called. Some roleplay name. I'm not the roleplay guy, so I can't tell you off the top of my head. And then the level 10 one, you get a greater participation key. And based on which key it is, there will be a % chance for Ethereum to drop. So it'll be tied to your campaign contribution as well. Those are currently in the game. I believe there's some issues with the chests. I actually have it on my to-do list of kind of like P0 bugs to get done before launch. So we'll get fixed.
Nice. What are some of the? Are there any other rewards that are expected to come from those chests?
Yeah, that's currently being decided. I think it'll be very similar to the Koth reward chest. Basically, a chance to get a really, really good item, and then slightly more chance to get a medium item, and then probably some static reward for sure. I believe the key from Koth, I think it was like 100 Luna coins. So what is it off the top of my head? It's something like that. So it'll be something similar to those campaign chests, and they'll scale up based on obviously how well you did. So
awesome. We've got still more to cover to make sure, because I think the stream's coming out on the 30-minute mark, and I know it's going to start doing random ads for people, and I'd hate for them to miss it. So I'm going to do a quick 3-minute ad break. I'll put it just back to the starting screen. We'll be back here in 3 minutes. So that way, Shandril, you can go fill up your coffee if you need any more, something like that. Get a water. But we will be back here in about 3 minutes after this ad break, and we'll be talking about more Season 3. I'll see you guys in a minute. Bye.
Awesome.
All right, stream, welcome back. Sorry for that 3-minute ad break. Just want to make sure people who are, Twitch has some mandatory ad times that they do things every so often, and I don't want people getting a random ad pop in the middle of the screen, and then when we're answering your favorite question about all of the class balance stuff we were planning on talking about.
Everybody's favorite topic.
But yeah, so welcome back, everyone. We're here again with Shandril. For those of you who are just jumping in here, Shandril, one of the devs from the Eden team, has been giving us some insight into what to expect for Season 3, Dark Age of Camelot Eden. Lots of really cool stuff that has been developed, very custom for the server here. So feel free. I will try to get, if there are some relevant questions at the time of the topic from the chat into here. We do have a lot of topics to get through that we went over a little bit at the beginning, but really appreciate your guys' feedback and chat and comments and stuff. That was the eyebrow raise there for you, Socks. I saw that there, so that's why I gave you the eyebrow raise. I'm still watching you guys. All right. How you feeling so far, Shandril?
I feel great. Thanks for having me here. Always fun talking with you. I know we we talked for about an hour and a half before this about everything. So
really did a quick overview. Well, actually, we talked about an hour and a half of a lot of other things that weren't even on this list, which is crazy. We were going to talk about the list, and we didn't talk about it at all. We talked about my personal rants and vendettas against, I think, Snapshot Minstrels and Animists. So,
common topics.
Yeah, classes. I love Thurgis and I love Animus. I play them a lot. Have my own personal gripes. I'm sure everyone else does too. But let's get back on topic. I'm gonna lose my train of thought here. We talked about the Relic rewards, Season 3 launch, what to expect on that end, some weekly campaigns, some of the quest types. Let's talk about the Frontlines system, which is a huge, I think probably one of the defining features here of what's going to make combat and action in Season 3 Daok on Eden very unique. This is probably going to be the Koth system of Season 3 that really focuses action and gets people into it quickly. Can you give us, for people who are watching or maybe are not too familiar with it yet or haven't played with it a lot, what are the Frontlines? How can players participate in using the Frontlines tools?
Yeah, so a great question. I'll try and not ramble too much on it. It's such a big system. So I guess I'll start with like where it came from, right? The whole idea. So basically, we've kind of we listened to feedback the past year and a half, 2 years, and kind of just kind of what we've observed is like we wanted to create systems that kind of provided I guess, sustained fun and engaging gameplay. So I think we've all, everybody that's played the game is logged in. There's just some days that it's like the conditions are right and it's just awesome. There's nonstop action. There's fights everywhere. It just feels like it's those days like, you sit around talking the water cooler moment, so to speak. And you're like, oh, that was really fun. Like, why isn't it like that all the time? And so basically, starting with that is you kind of look at what creates those situations. And so, that's kind of where we started, is basically, let's get people back into the fight, kind of look at locomotion mechanics as a whole. One thing I've always hated is basically when people, the porting system. So, you get ported in another realm. And then people yell at the other realm for closing the port. Like, oh, you killed action by closing the port. I always hated that because it's like they're just defending their realm. They're doing an objective. Why should they care about cutting off a port, right? So kind of basically taking all these kind of ideas. We had this giant board of just like things like that made things fun and things that weren't fun. You kind of take all those lots and lots of conversations and kind of put everything together, and you kind of start coming up with systems that hopefully provide these kind of situations on a more reoccurring basis. So we've kind of come up with the whole Frontline system. The idea is basically one realm is the front line. The first caveat is that the realm, if your realm has no relics, then you can't be the front line, because that makes zero sense. The whole game is about taking the relics and bringing them back to your home. I never understood that. It's like you log in and let's say Alb doesn't have any relics. Mid has them all, and Hib has, or I guess Mid has 5 and Hib has 1, and then they're both attacking Alb, and I'm like, okay, like that doesn't really make sense, but it happens. So basically, that's kind of the first thing. Is let's kind of get action to a more, let's not beat up the poor realm that doesn't need to get beat up. And so basically, once the front line's chosen, is based on where the action is in that realm, it's going to be shifting, up, down, left, right, to kind of like follow the action. So the idea is you're kind of pushing towards the enemy relics. Everything should be about pushing towards the relics, right? And then there's going to be events that happen that if there's a stalemate that happens, let's say like the front line hasn't really moved for a set amount of time, there's going to be cool things that will spawn in the world to help move it, either help the defenders or help the attackers, kind of keep the game fresh, keep it moving. That's kind of the idea. And then, I just say the whole focus is on it just being fun. You should know where to go. It should be lots of fun fights. Everything should be kind of like helping push towards fighting, not avoiding fights. Really don't like the idea of people call it PB door, of like attacking empty keeps and empty towers. Let's reward people for fighting is kind of the antithesis of that. So yeah, I think that's kind of a good gist of it. Awesome. I noticed on your screen you have a picture of the forward base, right? That's probably with season 3 we have this whole construction system we've kind of put in. And so forward bases are probably one of the cooler things. I really like them. Obviously, very biased, but this gives a way for battle group leaders to more organically push where they want to fight. Helps provide kind of tactics for like taking out the forward base, moving it around. And I've really enjoyed watching players interact with them during the beta. It's been really fun. But that's just it's just part of the initial launch of the front lines, and I'm sure we're going to be seeing a lot of changes throughout season 3.
I've had some time to join a couple groups here and there and test out some of these features, and my favorite one by and large is the forward base. I also really liked a lot of what we were set out to do was some of those objectives like the war chiefs and things like that. But how do you get out there fast? These frontline forward bases have made it so easy to get back into the action, whether we're out there and we get killed, or someone needs to port back and get something, or the action's moving, or we need to go respec something, whatever it is. As soon as we get back to, we can port right to the forward base and we're in the action again. And that was the that made the action feel flowing, constant. It's a really good addition there. You see this other person over here, and I think what detracted all of our time before, we were going to talk about this ahead of time just so I could better understand. But we got a disagreement on what this person's name is. So I said, "Is this Sharon?" I just started calling her Sharon, and I think the actual name is like Charon or Karen or Heron or Hiron. We looked at all of the different versions of it, and then just started laughing at the names. But tell me about the ferryman.
There we go.
And how
I like that. The ferryman.
How we use perfect. Tell us about how we use the ferryman to get back into the front lines.
Yeah, so the ferryman, I'm just going to say that. I might just rename him to that. Skip the whole debate, right? So he, basically what we've done is we've introduced, I call it a timed currency, but that's my engineering brain. Basically, oh gosh, I have to say his name again. We'll say there's obols in the game. Ferryman obols. Here we go. That have a % chance to drop on turning in war supplies. And what these obols do is they're going to give you different kind of boons that you can purchase for your group in the front lines. So the first one is basically locomotion, right? Let's say you don't have a forward base up, but you want to have a quick way to get towards the action. Is you can talk to him and he will kind of port you to the front lines close to like kind of a somewhat close to an objective. But this cost is scaled based on the size of your group. So if you are a group of 8, it's going to cost 8 tokens. If you're a solo, I believe it's just 1. And that is just kind of it just kind of makes sense to, you don't want large locomotion happening at all times, right? It's kind of, if you have a large group, probably best to go through a forward base, etc. So that's kind of the first implementation. Second implementation is we added in some new content, I think over the last 2 weeks, called timed missions. And I think this is a really fun system that I'm really looking forward personally to helping build out. Is essentially what this will do is you'll get a mission somewhere to do in the world. It could be in the front lines, it could not be. And basically, I think, say you get a mission to assassinate a certain mob, is if you talk to the ferryman, they will teleport you somewhere close to the mission, and obviously you can go do that. There will be another group or another person that has that same mission of the other realm, who hopefully tries to kill you, or maybe they're nice people. Maybe they just do them together. That'd be kind of weird. But basically, the idea is that it's going to kind of create action somewhere else in the world, or maybe in the front lines, anywhere in the world, that kind of push people together. And so right now, those are 2 implementations: is teleporting the front lines and getting to your mission location. The ferryman will give you a free teleport on your first, if you just get a mission, it'll get you to that location for free, and then subsequent teleports will cost an obol as well. And this system is going to keep getting built out throughout the season. Pretty bare bones right now, but rather happy with the system. The key from an engineering side was to make sure the introduction of a timed currency didn't crash the server and corrupt the database, which, knock on wood, everything seems okay. So now that things are somewhat okay, we'll keep on building it out.
That's awesome. I think people like the name. Just to go back, the people are typing in there. The name Karen is really holding on. We're getting requests to maybe put a Karen haircut on the skeleton, maybe for like a Halloween event or something like that.
Okay, I like that. All right.
Keep it fresh. That's really cool though. Anything that gets the action gets you back in the action faster, sooner, more regularly. That's the key to it all, right? That's the thing that drives people's entertainment and engagement, and why I think people love cost so much, why people are liking the arenas a bit, why people are liking the forward base system, why people are liking all the little symbols on the Realm War map that show where all the action's happening. It just gets people to finding content. And I think the core of Dayoc content is the PvP action. So the easier it is to find it, and the quicker you can get to there, the more you can play and enjoy the game. So I think that's a great addition.
I think one thing I've kind of had on my bulletin board of an idea An idea, a mantra. That's a stronger word. A mantra for content is always respect the player's time. You know, a lot of us are older. I'm sure we have some younger players with us, but you know, my knees hurt in the morning now. But we don't have all the time we did in our youth. So I want every player to be able to log in and have an enjoyable playing experience. Whether it's, you know, it's 1 hour, it's 15 minutes, you know, it's 6 hours. Yeah, so that's kind of like something we've kind of honed in on, is respect the player's time. So each system's kind of built out to kind of, you know, you want to keep Dark Age, probably the most important, but helping players get into what they enjoy in a reasonable amount of time is definitely something that's super important to us.
Awesome. I love that. I think that's a good core tenet to hold and a mantra to live by. I want to jump from the front lines to one of the more recent things that you guys had added, and that is the dynamic missions. And I'm going to apologize because I didn't have all of the best photos to describe that. So what I did put at least on here is for those of you who are getting all your key rewards out there. This is where you can go to turn them in. So you can go into your throne rooms. The SI zones have it, and like the starter towns also have access to these little places to turn in your keys through your campaigns to get your rewards. But a big part of this is this new thing about, and I've seen it called a few different things, and we were talking about it. The first time they were announced, they were called timed missions, and then the most recent announcement, it was dynamic missions. But tell us a little bit about dynamic missions, specifically what's the goal of them and how do they work?
Yeah, so I think I'm gonna go with timed missions. I think that sounds, it kind of describes it a little bit, right? Timed missions. Let's go with that. What do you think? You think timed missions? That sounds...
All of it's good to me. I think they all, you can call them timed dynamic missions if you need to, because they are timed and they are dynamic. They are.
It does it all. You know, they do them all. Perfect. But yeah, so timed missions are a relatively new idea that we've incorporated to basically try and give players that don't necessarily want to participate in the front lines. I mean, they might be in the front lines, but more of a targeted group objective, I would say. So what it does is basically you can enlist them by using our LFF system, type /LFF. And then I believe once you're on this list, you could do /LFF-TM on, which stands for time missions on, or you can talk to an NPC in the Relic towns. And basically what these do is you'll get a random task to complete in the frontiers within a time limit. Based on the tasks is the time limit. I think it's safe to say it's about 10 minutes. And what will happen is there will be another group or realm, or, you know, multiple groups maybe, who knows, that get the same mission, and the group that completes the mission first will get the reward. And so this system I'm very, very excited about, because very much like the Frontlines and those war supply missions, is very extendable. Can very easily extend it, and since this content would be more focused on not necessarily doesn't necessarily have to be, I guess it's more specific content, right, for whoever gets this mission, because it's generated. You know, it can do some fun stuff with it. You know, sky's kind of the limit. But long story short, it's going to kind of point you to the area that another group looking for I call them manageable fights. A manageable fight might be. And yeah, should help kind of drive another system kind of help drive the action even during low population times. That's a good way to put it. Put that on a marketing pamphlet. That sounded pretty good.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good, right? We've got action no matter what time of day.
There it is.
That could also work for some other more fallacious houses or products that you're trying to sell. But yeah. We've got action for you at any time of the day.
Oh boy. I thought it was supposed to be a PG stream.
Yeah.
What's going on here?
Listen, the language in the chat's already gone awry. We've already lost it.
Oh boy.
I think all of my words were clean, at least. All right. I think that's a good way of putting it, though. I like the idea of unique ways of, without it feeling artificial, creating, you know, that experience of a random encounter in the universe. And by setting two equally measured groups against each other against a common objective without them knowing exactly who it is they're going to be fighting, just knowing that the point of this mission is to engage in a somewhat balanced interaction and some balanced fight that you're going to come into. I think that's really inspiring. That's going to really lock in a lot of players. Anytime, whether you're running a duo, guess what? You're probably going to fight something that's probably close to another duo over there. If you're running an 8-man, you're going to probably fight another 8-man. And you're both fighting over the same set of resources, let's call it. Whether it's a killing thing or a collecting thing or something like that. I think that's really a really smart way to address that. I know there's a couple examples in here. Do you want to go over the couple that exist of types of dynamic missions that are in there now, and then maybe expand on, are there any in the future that are being planned, any new ones?
Ooh, so there is. I have a whole document of new ones. Basically, I know people think their feedback sometimes go to the void. That's not true. There's a lot of garbage sometimes that gets posted, but there's some diamonds out there. Basically over the years, kind of collected some, it would be cool if this was in the game, take that idea. Maybe it doesn't fit right then, but it is a cool idea. So kind of a document of these cool ideas that might one day fit. And a lot of them are kind of came from like the headspace of a manageable fight encounter. And so that is where these will sit in, I guess, the Eden universe, so to speak. So right now, I believe there's 2 available. There might be 3. We'll go say 2. One is an assassinate mission where you get a random location on the map. It'll say go to here and await some orders, and then once both kind of combatants are in the area, the NPC will be revealed, and then so you're going to go to this red dot, and you will encounter. You can either kill the mob and get some really good rewards, or you can kill the player and get RPs, and then kill the mob. And if the other party kills it before you do, they'll get rewarded. There's also it's the code is there, but it's not really built out. Is for each consecutive mission, there's like a hot streak component. So if you do like 10 mission successes in a row, you're going to get like rewards, like cascading rewards. So it might be like an extra 50% RPs on the rewards, etc. So there's an incentive to keep going and keep winning. And those are going to be balanced and built out. There's also, we introduced like kind of like a salvage mission, which is kind of like you take old fights on the map. And then you go and you have to go pick up like shields and spears and stuff from there. Kind of like the equivalent of, I guess, of a box quest, but going to different fights on the map and having to pick things up. And what's cool about that one is multiple groups can have that mission. So you're going to be roaming, picking these things up and fighting. And these missions can also take place anywhere in the world. So there's no reason, let's say it's in the front lines, you get a mission. And then there's a scout mission right there. We could double dip. You could do the scout mission and then finish your other mission. Seen a lot of really cool encounters, like from a eye in the sky. I happily say that its system's doing really, really well, even better than I thought it would. From just like looking at, I guess, metrics and like qualitatively just looking at the game from my bird eye view.
Yeah, and I think that's an interesting piece that. Not everyone is privy to some of the raw data, right? You probably have some strange recordings of this is the exact number of times that this objective has been done. This is the number of times that this, class has gotten kills. Like you probably have weird numbers on stats and statistics on all kinds of data back there. And I think having worked in some software and stuff before, it's about working with the team, because it is an Eden team. There's an entire team working together on this and coming together and looking at the data and analyzing it and trying to make sense of all of this information, whether it's the qualitative experience of individual people or the quantitative information that you have and balancing that all together before to come to some sort of solution.
And I'd like that. I just happened to be the person that I guess was dumb enough to come on this interview. Psylence. Thank you for having me. Just kidding. But what I want to say is that we are very much it's a very big team. And so I will say this: it's a good life lesson as well as like just any project. It's like the best ideas always come from like disagreement and conversations and iteration. It's very rare that an idea is like a amazing idea right outside, right off the bat. You have to talk with each other. You have to kind of iterate, discuss the pros and cons of everything. And so we very much, especially on the team, do that. I think we discuss everything, and so it's a lot of different perspectives on the team. I think it's safe to say every single play style is represented. So we've done a really good job building it out. And yeah, it's just one of those things where discussion and iterating comes. You get the best ideas from that. I don't know how I got on that tangent.
No, I love that. We'll definitely talk about iteration because that's my favorite approach to things as well. It's the only way you really continue to move forward without, stopping all progress and everything. So there's some really cool. I see Sup and Caspers has a question here, which I will ask something very similar to that when we talk about the actual launch of season 3. What to expect there. Before we get into launches and what launch day is going to look like, and the fact that we're going to have absolutely no server crashes because everything's perfect. I want to talk about one more new feature, not to put any pressure on you or anything. That's why don't thank me yet. The gun, we haven't gotten through the hardest parts. Okay. Let's jump into, I think one of the more, I think, anticipated and exciting parts of all of this. Season 2 introduced Valkyries and Banshees and the Heretic. And when we talked on an interview at the end of the World Cup 2024, which was an exciting event, we were talking about trying to get out of you information about new classes that are coming. And I think everyone anticipated and had in the back of their mind that Vamps and Warlocks, that makes sense, even though there's been no official confirmation. We think that's coming. That's probably what's going to happen. But then with Nostradamus-like foresight, I said there's going to be a third Albion class coming, and everyone laughed at me, and I was mocked and ridiculed. And here we are, only a few weeks later, the Occultist pops out as though the stars were there, and I were reading the lines. Let's talk about the new classes for season 3 here: the Occultist, the Vampire, and the Warlock. What are your thoughts so far on each of the new classes, and maybe there's some data or thoughts that you have on it, on their performance in the beta?
So let's see. How do I feel about them? I'm very glad they're there. I'm happy they're in the game. So balance-wise, right? So once we talk about iteration, right? So reason you do a beta is you introduce all these new mechanics, these new classes, and basically first thing, is the server going to crash? Do their abilities work, right? There's only one way to test that, and that is put them in a live environment like this. And then the second thing is you begin to iterate is, what's an outline ability that obviously needs to be fixed or nerfed? And the third thing is you kind of look at their kit. Is do they have a place in the game? Do they have an identity? Do they have a role, etc.? So at the beginning of the beta, obviously everything needed to be tweaked. I think Occultist has probably been the most touched one yet. Vamps as well. Vamps, got cure root about halfway through beta. Warlock just recently got, I believe that we gave him Fear, and what else did we? It's just Fear.
I think there was like a nuke, like a new spell damage nuke, right?
And then the Matter debuff, I think, got taken away. But yeah, so basically get things in, make sure things aren't, the server's not crashing. Then you begin to iterate the balance. I think it's safe to say things will continue to change. Balance is always going to be different, always going to be changing. I feel like Vamps are, first everybody says they're useless, and then everybody says they're too strong. And that's just the way it is with everything in Dark Age. It's too extreme. There's nothing that's good. It's just two extremes. But I'm happy with the implementation of Vamp. I feel like feels pretty good. There's obviously some things will be tweaked, maybe, I don't know. I can say they will not be getting determination, so people can stop posting about that. I don't think that will happen. I think people that continue to play the class have seen like, oh wow, this class is really strong if you let it go kind of if we don't CC it.
You didn't hear it, by the way, but I pushed my little button for the stream of the kids cheering because I don't want to see Vamps get determination. They're already
yeah, to CC. I don't want to speak for the team. I mean, it's a team effort, but I don't think they'll be getting determination unless, like, I don't know, something catastrophic happens. Warlocks they're such a weird class, right? On paper, you're like, oh my god, you get spread heal. I'm just gonna sit there and spread heal all day. I mean, I like the class. I feel like we've done a decent job. I won't say good. We've done a decent job, kind of giving them an identity and stuff. I could see, we're gonna keep our eye on them. I think in like BG Warfare, very good class. Provide a lot of utility for groups and stuff in that environment. Small man. It's hit or miss. It's the whole thing of Dark Age, right? You have the whole game is this push-pull paradigm with the way the interrupt system works, right? And so it's incredibly anything you do that touches that, and you get the push side is too strong, get the pull side is too strong, and it's very much like a teeter-tottering type thing. But yeah, Warlocks, there might be some changes in the pipeline. Obviously, we pushed out those changes recently, kind of keeping our eye on them. And then everybody's favorite is the Occultist. It's living alongside the Necro. For those who don't know, I'm sure most on the stream do know, but basically Live introduced the Occultist, which is the Necromancer replacement. We are going to be having both on Eden, and so that's a balancing point in itself. I think they've probably seen the most balancing kind of overviews throughout the season, or excuse me, the beta. Yeah, I mean, it's just, I think it's safe to say, actually, I won't say any predictions, but I think all three will probably touch some more throughout the season, possibly. It's hard to say, really. We do have some balancing discussions ongoing. We have to look at everything holistically. And I think a lot, and people have gotten much better, is like when you're looking at the game, a lot of people focus only on their play style. I solo, and so I see Friars are the most OP thing in the world. Friar class is ridiculous, and then you go up a little bit to like BG Warfare, and then everybody's like, Friar, why do you think Friar's OP? The guy cures my near sight. That's about it. Twirls his stick every once in a while. So having to look holistically at the game is really important, and you and I have my own personal thoughts on Dark Age, and I'm sure I share them with everybody. And everybody on the team is really good at discussing everything like holistically. And I have a lot of great people that give me feedback and things to look at. And I think the key is to be unbiased and to talk. Make sure you take like a look at everything. But yeah, I think it's just kind of a tangent, right? I'm just kind of
no, that's good. That's good.
Whole lot of nothing.
But I'll say this, and this is for you, Robbie, in the chat. We have our second addition to Albion that is both a hybrid caster, melee, choose your own adventure kind of thing going on here. Why is Albion getting all of this extra varying love in so many different ways? You can do the melee heretic, you got the caster tick, you've got the melee occultist, you got the caster occultist. And it's a caster with no quick cast, but it has determination. It's got all kinds of stuff weird going on in there. Is there? I think there were some changes to the occultist recently by like reducing some of the damage output in that regards, and like I said, it's limited data pool. They're still young in the environment here. Is there any with Vamps kind of being in a good spot, probably Warlocks maybe just slightly underperforming, and occultists figuring out their spot? They're very common, very popular, very strong class right now. Is there anything with the occultist that you specifically see as like an area of focus for your guys's review and engagement on? Is there anything you really like about the class? Anything you really don't like about the class?
That's a really good question. So I think you kind of hit the nail on the head, right? Is occultist is probably maybe heretic to. It's very specific. You play it completely different based on your spec, right? It's a completely different play style. I can't really think about any other class in the game that kind of has that. Maybe even Staff Friar, you still win a support role, right? Can you think of any other one? Is there like Melee Thane, but you're still using? I don't know. Seems pretty much just occultist and heretic, like completely spec dependent on the play style.
Yeah, they are so heavily defined in the universe based on which spec you go. It's such a different play style.
Yeah. So that being said, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head, right? Is you don't occultist as a whole, massive kit, right? But you got to look at the spec and what each one can do, and go from there. I think a important piece of balance, and you kind of saw this with our recent patch, is with the coexistence of Necromancer and Occultist. I don't want to push Necromancer straight to the side, like, oh yeah, here's the newborn son. The elder son. No one cares about you. You don't want that. Because I personally love Necromancer. So that's going to be a balancing act as well. But I think as a whole is you need to look at the realms as a whole. Do I think Occultist itself is could completely ruin the game? I don't know. No, I don't think so. I think there are counterplays in play for the class. I think it's just a class in the game. I think people are getting used to playing with it. But long story short, I don't think you can. You got to balance as a holistic thing for Albion, right? You got, oh my God, how many classes are in Alb now? 13, 15? I can't even keep count of it.
Albion has a lot of classes available to it. The most classes, some might say, out of any of the realms. I think one more than Hibernian and two more than Midgard.
More than Mid, right? Yeah. Plus one because of the Necro, because it's not replaced, right? So
even more so. It's just really getting out of hand there. But I think that's true. My experience with it has been, an occultist can be dealt with, but man, you put it standing next to a paladin and your life is miserable.
And that's also another thing, right? So it's another big buff in general for class, or excuse me, what am I trying to say? Pulse classes, right? Because each class can now have a coexisting pulses. So that's another thing. It's occultist plus 8 pulses. Wow, that's super strong. Scalds, is Scald too strong now because of this? It's that
is a very big worry of everyone. Scalds are definitely everyone's favorite, strongest class in the game right now.
That's right.
I think that's a good thing, though. I actually really like that you brought that up. This might be getting ahead of it, but there's something about being able to utilize all your utility. Everyone expects these music classes or chant classes, paladins or scalds or wardens or bards or minstrels they're always talked about and argued about as though all of their utility is active all the time. So if we're going to have the conversation as though that's the case, it's kind of nice to see them with all of their utility active all the time, right? So we can have a more robust conversation about, if we're going to assume that the utility is always there, then let's just put it all there. And now we can actually tweak and make modifications based on the reality of the situation.
Because, you kind of hit the nail on the head, right? The recorder is amazing. I think it's probably one of the best things ever introduced to Dark Age of Camelot. But because it evens the playing field. For the longest time, like you said, players that were comfortable with auto hotkey and scripting, or, back in the day, was it a Nostradamus keyboard or whatever, the little... the small one I'm talking about, is you had such, just based on the mechanics of Dark Age of Camelot, you had such an advantage by having everything up at the same point. So I said, it's all right, well, let's get rid of this arbitrary barrier for keeping everything up, and now you can kind of look holistically at the delves, the values, and everything at the same time. So bringing that up.
The recorder is actually really good. I have finally made the jump. I've bitten the bullet and went through all my characters, because I've used a lot of keyboard related things for like manual twisting and things like that back in the day. But the new unbuff macro, so I can use my charges without accident. My cleric buffed me with Dex quick, and now I can't just use my charge because now it's on a 1:09 timer. If you go and use the recorder, create an unbuff macro, then use your buff charge, you never have that problem again.
There you go.
And it took me about 2 hours to go through every character and go through all of their buffs and get everything set up to do that. But it was worth it. I don't have to complain or yell at my support anymore. We have a more loving relationship. I'm usually playing support and I try to be accommodating. But when I'm not playing support, I guess I unfairly expected everyone to have the same approach to support as I had, and that's not the case. I can't expect that. That's my fault. That's on me. I'm gonna own it, and I'm gonna take the steps to improve the universe in the way that I can. So
what a guy.
It's all about self growth and development. Okay,
wow.
self reflection, everyone.
Wow.
Be a better person tomorrow than you are today.
Great wisdom in that. Wow. We should put that on the marketing pamphlet.
There we go. We're getting a lot of really good quotes for that pamphlet. We're gonna have a nice. We keep going. We're gonna have a Bible of quotes in there. Well, let's go ahead and jump to. We're gonna talk more a little about the class balance stuff in a bit. What I want to talk about now is the actual launch. There's been a ton of development over the past 3 months, and honestly, if I'm being honest, before that, obviously, getting to this point. So probably for the past 6 to 9 months, you've probably been buried in development, getting ready for season 3.
Yeah, I think that's a safe statement to make.
Yeah, I feel like that's fair. If the go live date is the 29th, in looking at launch day, how many times do you anticipate the server crashing, and why is that number 0?
I will say just that, I just put a disclaimer that if you're expecting a completely smooth launch, then the actual launch date is probably April 7th. So we'll go with that. I'll put that disclaimer out. I think it would be very foolish to think that it will be a completely smooth launch. I think this is like my 4th or 5th one at this point. It just, things happen that are completely impossible to catch ahead of time. We'll do our best. We got a really good team. I want to see what happens. I remember season 1, I believe we had very early on, we had like 1 or 2 rollbacks. Season 2, I think we just had like a few just restarts, like later in the day.
I don't remember any rollbacks in season 2. I might be wrong, but
we had some mid-season. There was one. I remember we actually had an event. It was like roll forward event to make up for it, I think.
That's true. Yeah.
But we do have now systems in place to help prevent that from happening. Yeah, we'll see what happens. There's a lot of new code. It'd be foolish to say it's going to be smooth, but we'll work our way through it. The other devs are the super smart ones. I'm the one that just shows my face every once in a while, so I can happily say that they're really good at problem solving and keeping the calm under pressure. So hopefully we're in good hands.
I appreciate that. I think you definitely have the dangerous role of showing your face on screen. It's always I empathize with that fear all the time. These guys are ruthless. They're brutal. I make one mistake. I break one mez in a 10-year career, and I'm getting roasted for a week. Gavin knocks me down the tier list 3 levels. I'm just kidding.
What a jerk.
All right. So my next question about it is, I have a lot of alts, so can I get a PL?
Yeah, 100%.
Perfect.
We'll start a level 1 Proving Grounds group. I'll PL level you to 4, and then you're on your way.
Excellent.
There we go.
Is there anything in the immediate horizon? So obviously a ton of development leading up to this. there's probably going to be a lot of work in the first maybe couple weeks to make sure the servers are stabilized and those issues are addressed. Is there anything at all over the next couple 2-3 months that you guys want to focus on, are working on, or anticipate launching during that time? That's going to be the focus for how is season 3 going to evolve over the first 3 months?
Yeah, I mean, so we have some decent sized content that will probably drop around that time frame. No announcements on it yet, still under development. But I think the thing to note is all the systems we built out, right? Very extendable. So like dropping new missions, maybe just log in one day, there's a new mission type, new time mission type. We're going to introduce these stalemate events. It used to be this taste of blood on the mainland that would, you could do it and get like a keep golem. We turned those off just because like it was a confusion among the player base, and I don't blame them at all, where taste of blood was sometimes spawn on EV, then it was sometimes spawn on the mainland. And the rewards were different. So we decided what we'll do is probably have some like short term, like some quick events that, if no keep's been taken or anything, then something fun could happen. I don't know, not fun per se, but like something to go grab to push the action forward. It's nothing. I think as of the time to missions, the delivery, I don't think there's any significant like content patches before the end of beta, because we're kind of in that critical window where you don't want to introduce untested stuff this close to launch. But yeah, definitely big plans post launch to continue to add some content, and there's some substantial stuff in the pipeline. Not announced yet, not done yet, but should be some stuff coming.
We'll have to host another dev talk on the stream when we get there. Good question came through on the chat. I want to miss it because it's relevant to this topic of, it's difficult to anticipate what kind of player count numbers you're going to see in 2 weeks from today. At the launch of season 3. I know you guys posted for season 2, and I don't have that, I didn't look it up. Maybe off the top of your head what like launch day looked like in terms of players online during the launch. Do you might not know it. I just asked this from the chat.
Like how many players to expect?
Yeah, how many like unique players were there over the first weekend of season 2?
Ooh, that's a good question. I actually don't have the numbers. I know it was.
Someone said like 4K in the chat also, and that sounded about right-ish.
Like 4 to 5K, and it was higher than season 1 by a somewhat decent percentage. Don't have it in front of me, but we'll see what happens with season 3. I mean, you only have 2 data points to really go off of. I think I've told you this multiple times. It's like a big goal for me personally is that the game always feels like there's 5,000 people playing concurrently, because like all the systems kind of point to condensing action and expanding it when needed. So yeah, we'll see what happens. We were just blown away by the support of the server. And yeah, well, fingers crossed. I hope whatever shows up we can support. So we'll see what happens.
I think that's awesome. This is also probably a good time talking about the next or first few months of season 3 and maybe what to expect on the horizon. I'm gonna jump back in time a little bit here. You guys had done the Sobakite Eternal release. You guys did the Cobalt Undercity release. You had really good receptions on the PvE content and the development there. And this is kind of a quick catch-all for a lot of the questions that have come in here about, what is itemization going to look like? Are there going to be new ROGs? How is TOA going to be done? Is there going to be new PvE content? Is there anything that you can speak about for season 3 from the itemization or PvE or those specific type of dungeons for season 3?
Yeah, I think off the bat, we've moved the token rewards for Sobi and KU are daily now. So slight, tokens will be a little bit harder to come by in that sense. PvE content, I know there is some planned content. I don't know when that will be dropped. There will be additional PvE content coming out for season 3. We fixed the issues. I want to thank our beta testers. KU and Sobi have been fixed. There were some issues with instancing and some bosses not working correctly. So that's been fixed. Itemization wise, I believe we recently added some warrior only, I want to say, I think it's celerity weapons. So those have been added. Itemization will continue to evolve and change, especially with the newer classes and stuff. Can't really speak on any specific content being added. I think one of the important changes is that Darkness Falls is now open to everyone, so which I'm very excited about. It's one of the great things about Seasons is you can see how it looks with Darkness Falls on 24/7 and then gated by keeps. And I want to say open 24/7 is a superior option. And yeah, I think I can't really. Yeah, I think it should be similar to Season 2. I'm sure it's a little bit more complete too because all TOA's been. Not all of TOA, but the TOA content was continually built out during Season 2. I believe we even dropped ML10 during Season 2, like about halfway through. So safe to say you could expect additional PvE content. The good thing about PvE content is that it's a lot easier to add PvE content than it is to add PvP content. It's balancing wise, it's much more of a smaller kind of pool. But yeah,
the experience is replicatable, so you can definitely tweak things in a meaningful way.
Yes, for sure. So, I don't think I don't want to speak for any PvE changes or content drops before they are announced by the PvE team. So I'll let them handle the announcements on if anything's coming out down the pipeline.
Okay, excellent. Yeah. And I'm sure, at some point, maybe we can convince some of the dungeon designers to jump into one of these dev talks and harass them about PvE content and items and
100%.
Really put their feet to the fire rather than you having to take the brunt of it all.
That's right. I mean, I think it's just one of those things where there's a very happy medium of PvE content because there's been, I-50 servers through the beginning of Dark Age's lifespan, and you need some type of people like to see progression, right? And then I know I've talked your head over the whole the thing missing from Dark Age of Camelot and making it a perfect game is like a more of an end game economy type situation, but that could be like a dev talk, like my personal thoughts on like a whole entire like maybe a whole season 2045 focused on end game economies or something. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think that'd be good. My final comments on the dungeons. I think the introductions and implementations for Sobakite and KU were great. I enjoyed them. We had a group that would regularly do them every day. We'd log on, do our runs, and it was just across sometimes multiple realms just for the experience. It was fun to play. Actually, you did a great job making the PvE content engaging. I know that I'm personally in Season 3 going to be relying on my man's Barbecue, who I saw in the chat there. He's going to be carrying me through a lot of those dungeons, I'm sure, at some point. So appreciate that, Barbecue. I've called you out. You can't back out of it now. This is a pre-agreed contract that you've already accepted.
I love RAR. Thank you. I want to give a shout out to Barbecue too. Great guy. Love the dungeon guides. So nice to all these wonderful new players are joining us on Eden. So thank you so much for helping them out. So
I think it's been very helpful to the entire server. So that's a great person to shout out there. So we're gonna jump now to everyone's favorite topic of all time, and probably now and forever, class balance. I'm going to preface this so that the torches and the pitchforks and anything in between is tempered. But I'm going to make a statement and you tell me how accurate it is. Okay. You are a part of a team of developers working on this, and I'm absolutely certain, and you can tell me if I'm right or wrong, I'm absolutely certain that there are balancing features that you have in your mind, the way the game should be, that aren't in the game because it's a team effort and everyone has to kind of align on the direction for a balance change. It's not something you personally can like, I want to do this, I'm going to change it now. Is that an accurate statement that this is a team collaborative balancing
100%.
Approach?
Like 100%. Trust me, you don't want me being the balance lead. But it's very much a collaborative effort. So if I say something's a great idea, it might be a great idea, but there might be a reason it's not in the game. I'm just I guess I'm one head of the Hydra. Is that that's a weird saying, but it kind of makes sense, right?
So if we cut you off, do 2 more pop in its place?
Yeah, right. Yeah. Let's hopefully we don't find out,
No, okay. So let's go ahead and see if there's anything we can discuss on it. We've talked a little bit about the new classes, things of that nature. Is there anything right now that you or the team or anyone is looking at? It's like, as far as like game balance goes, this is a topic of discussion. Whether not that you have anything specific of it, but is there anything that's like, these are things we are looking at, and we may not have the perfect solution yet, but there are considerations and discussions around there. And I'll leave it pretty open before going to some more specific things.
Yeah, I think it's important to note that like everybody on the team, and I'm pretty sure I speak for probably everybody in the chat, wants the same thing. Is you want a balanced game with like the meta being the most amount of setups and groups are viable as possible, right? I think it's a pretty good statement. Is you want there to be as much viable end game group compositions as possible, and how you get there, that's hard to get there, right? But the more variety, the better. And so I think it's important to kind of keep that in the frame. Is like, is it? And I still say there's more than one way to skin a cat. Is that a phrase that people still say?
I don't think they still say it, but it's a phrase that is viable.
It's viable, right? So yeah, so you have that kind of like high level goal, and then there's just a million ways to get there. And I think the key is like when you're discussing balance, is you think, oh, this is the only way to get there. This is my idea, and this is the only way to solve that problem. And then you talk to someone else with a different perspective, and you realize, oh, I didn't think about that. And so it's like through these conversations, these kind of iterations, you kind of come up with some changes that hopefully work towards that greater goal of the game of making as many viable options as possible in the end game.
I think that's a really good way of phrasing that. We're coming up at the hour. We've been going for about an hour and a half now. We did an hour ago. We did our break, and that hour it's going to probably start forcing people into ads. So we're going to take a quick 3-minute ad break. We probably got maybe another 30 minutes if that works for you, Shandril, to talk.
Yeah, that's perfect. I think I'm safe. I think I've had enough time.
We'll take another 3-minute kind of ad break here to make sure people aren't missing things. And we'll be back here in 3 minutes, and I'll see you guys in a bit. All right, team, welcome back to the show. We're joined here with Shandril, one of the devs from the Dayak Eden team. We're talking season 3. We got all of the most interesting topics that you guys have, from front lines to campaign missions to dynamic missions, timed missions, or whatever we're going to call them. All the new relic changes, all the new classes, and we're going to be jumping here just a little bit into some class balance discussions. Again, we talked a little bit about some of the thought process going into that, and we're going to continue on that conversation. Again, I'm going to preface this with these are probably thoughts and opinions that belong to our own, and there is and Shandril himself is tied to a team of people who make balancing decisions. It's not something that he is in sole control of the entire server and all balance changes. So
probably for the best.
How is that? Was that pretty good update there, Shandril?
I think so. I mean, it's probably for the best. I'm not the one in charge.
I have
maybe level 1 fighters inside of Humberton would be the server. You get a trading sword, and that's it. That's
perfect balance, right? Everyone is the same, and
everyone is the same. That's
actually a great, fantastic point, because it's so often people talk about like, well, I want more balance, and it's like you can achieve perfect balance, but your game ends up being everyone in a flat open land with the same sword and the same shield, and they're just doing the same boring thing to each other. And that is perfectly balanced, but it's not an entertaining or engaging game. So balance doesn't always mean fun. It's good to have balance, but you need to have fun and balance. And fun should be, and this is where the qualitative side of it comes. Like, data will give you balance. Qualitative experience is what drives fun. It's hard to quantify fun. You know, I can't just be like, this is on a scale of 1 to 10, exactly 7.2 fun. So
I wish we could. That'd be easy.
Wish you could, right?
Do like, you know, when you walk out of the airport bathroom, there's like the smiley face and the sad face. So you put one of those up.
Yeah.
You get a little, you know, a little live interaction right there. That'd be great.
Absolutely. So I want to ask a question. We'll start broad and we'll kind of like narrow the conversation down a bit.
Okay.
From a RVR perspective, realm balance, big sieges, keep takes, Zerg warfare, things like that. There have been so many improvements and advancements to the sieging systems, and you know, new content there. I mean, there's been a whole revamp of the siege system. We added siege towers to the things that have really helped control the flow of the game. We've talked about relics. What's your guys' perspective on like RVR balance right now, from the state of class balance, but from an RVR perspective?
Yeah, I think so. This is one that's, like you said, needs to be fun. Like it needs to be fun. So I kind of look at it personally as like, what's not fun? And I think this is something we did in season 2 is like GTAE interrupting, right? Like the whole tactics and interrupt system of Dark Age. Well, I have this character I can attack, you know, GTAE spamming in the, you know, in an area, and that's it. That's the tactic. So stuff like that. It's like focus on it being fun. And so that's something that we took away. But you know, I think the biggest thing for like battle group balance, or we'll go with like larger RVR balance, is I think the most important thing is when you're looking at it is, does the individual class balance really even matter when there's a giant population imbalance, right? Because that's the first thing, is like you can have the most balanced game, but when one side has 1,000 people and the other sides have 50, it doesn't matter what you've done, because that's kind of you know, kind of a moot point at that end. So that's kind of actually you know, can I throw in some corporate lingo? Can I say circle back? So just circle back to the Frontline system, is it kind of has that kind of somewhat part of the design where if your realm has all the relics, you probably are overpopulated, hence why there's going to be multiple fronts to defend on. So hopefully it kind of bounces the numbers a little bit. So let's play in a perfect world where the game is perfectly balanced. Everybody's like, you know, the armies are the perfect size. Then I think that's a really fun conversation, because it's like each realm has their own unique, like, kind of tactics, so to speak. Especially with Warlock being part of Midgard. I think, you know, Mid kind of missed that siege class, I guess, like a siege type role. Hib has Animist, you know, Albion kits in general, if they're, you know, they're long distance, already kind of help a lot in the siege battles. But I do think it's in a really good spot. I've been talking to a lot of the battle group leaders. Shout out to all of you. I love talking with all of you. And you know, I feel like the game's fun in these sieges. I feel like it's a fun time. It's a fun experience. So I am, like, I'm personally happy with it. I'm sure it's always going to be imbalance. There's always going to be some weird dynamic and stuff. You know, we're looking at a few things, a few weird new interactions. But yeah, I don't want to ramble, but yeah, I feel like it's a pretty good. It feels fun. There's always going to be some weird catch cases that are like, why is this like this? And I just want to be like, because Dark Age of Camelot, asymmetrical game with asymmetrical realms is basically what I can say.
I think that's a really fair analysis of that, and I'm glad you brought up the population dynamic, because from a RVR perspective and like engagement and fun and content and action, if the numbers are off from a population perspective, no amount of balancing is going to resolve that situation. Mm-hmm. And it is one of the more interesting and features that I still use is being able to look at the server info and being able to see what the population spread looks like. I am one of those players who enjoys an underdog approach. I would prefer to be on an underpopulated realm. Just my natural instinct. I think that's it for me. It provides more opportunities for action because I'm not running into my own realm all the time. But other people have very different approaches, and I think that's what makes kind of Dark Age very fun and dynamic in and of itself. So that's a really good way of looking at that, not neglecting the population attribute of balance. So let's talk about like from what I'm going to call a GVG perspectives, but this can be anything from 1v1, 2v2, 8v8, 5v5. When we're talking about approaching Dark Age from a more competitive state, we're still in the beta right now, and there's probably more data to gain as it goes live. There's going to be a lot more people on the server when that launches. How are you guys? Is there anything in particular about the state of class balance from a GVG perspective that's a topic of interest?
Yeah, I think so. I think you kind of hit the nail on the head, right? Is right now, this is pretty much endgame RVR, right? With the itemization and the realm rank and everything kind of set where it's at. So I think you're going to see a very different dynamic at the beginning of the season. I kind of have my internal guesstimates. I think you and I talked about 2 hours ago at this point about how I think things are going to go with like the course of the season, right? But I think that's important to keep in mind is the state of like the board, so to speak. So keeping that in mind, I think there are some changes that are being discussed. Because I think in my head is when you're balancing, you got to look at the state. And so like right now we're kind of an end game state. So regarding data and kind of just looking at the board, I think there's a lot of things you can look at. I think data-wise, we're in a pretty good spot. I'm very thankful for have some really great drafts. I watch a lot of them. You won't see me. I'm kind of the eye in the sky. So a lot of what you're feeling and seeing, I am observing. I have discussions going along with a lot of great players as well. I think data-wise, we're in a pretty good spot. We have some analytics that we look at probably weekly internally. I think I'm going on a tangent again. Yes, we have data.
I think that's a fair approach. I think it's good to know that there are people watching the dev team actually paying attention to watching these competitive scenes, whether it's I still see some people in there doing 2v2s. I see people in there doing 5v5s. See a lot of 8v8 stuff, and the drafts have probably helped expedite a lot of the data collection parts of it as well. And knowing that there's someone who's like observing that is good. Is there any specific spells or classes that you think? And I'll pull up one as an example. I know, and it's probably not. Because it's been already one of the changes was made. The topic of confusion has been at the a forefront of a lot of people's thoughts, and we saw a change go in that just recently, brand new to Dark Age of Camelot, never before seen. Confusion affecting charmed pets, not summoned pets, but like. Anything that's been charmed. We've seen confusion used before to like deal with some Thurgis pets here and there, animus pets, fire and forget stuff, but affecting charm pets. Is there any other future expectation for like confusion or any other spells or specific capacities you're interested in right now, at least in looking at discussing changing?
Yeah, so the confusion mechanic is actually, this is really funny. So this is something that's bothered me probably for 24 years is confusion's always been in the game. They added in, I believe, and chat's probably going to roast me if I get this wrong, but it's been a while, is they added in the fire and forget killing down the line, but it wasn't part of the initial implementation. But there used to be, you used to always be able to confuse charmed pets. And what it would do is basically, if a pet was charmed, it would kind of, you couldn't send it a command, right? It would kind of ignore the command was kind of the mechanic. So because our tick rate's so much higher than live, and I mean, that's pretty much it. It's just the pet code's completely different than live. So we kind of had this mechanic that was missing. So we added it back in, and then we're like, okay, well, it's very easy to get around with our higher tick rate. So we kind of came together and said, okay, well, let's do something that kind of makes sense, is like this initial confusion effect, and then the ignoring command part just kind of will reapply this confusion effect. That kind of makes sense. And it's one of those things where you need to do that during the beta to see how it feels and how it looks. Yeah, and so that's kind of where that came to be. It was like inspired from live and then adapted for Eden, I think is a good way to put it. And I think that's very important to kind of do that. Is I personally don't have I don't really care too much about live like mechanics being one-to-one. It's a state of the game. It's a historical snapshot, and it's good for looking at things. But taking things one-to-one I've never been a big fan of. I'm a fan of adapting for the current board and the current state of the game. And that's kind of how we kind of came up with this confusion effect for charm pets. So that's a little behind the scenes of the implementation for that. What do you think about the charm effect, Psylence? What's your? I know you love minstrels. So how do you feel about this mechanic?
You're getting ahead of me on my list of opportunities here.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
We can kind of jump into some of that. I play across the realms. I'll just give everyone my biases out right here. Like I play as someone who's trying to be respectful of the people I play with. I was like, I will play my one fun class, and then I will make a second class in every realm that's like full support. So I have a healer. I wanted to play Og. I get stuck on pack. I have a cleric, and I have a warden. So I made my support line.
Okay.
For my fun classes, I have my Thurgist, I have my Animist, I have my Scald, and my Rune Master. And like those are, I get to play those very rarely because I try to accommodate other people's feelings.
What a guy.
No, I'm going to start being more of a jerk about it. I'm sick of playing cleric.
Add Bone Dancer to that list. That sounds like your type of class right there, Silent.
Bone Dancer, better Scald, Sai.
There it is.
You want to interrupt? Stop playing Scald, play Bone Dancer. Do something.
There it is.
I think so knowing that those are the class, and I've played a ton of other classes on obviously live servers and things like that, and as we probably all have a huge list. Mm-hmm. I definitely see where Thurgists currently have issues and have always had issues in terms of balancing across every iteration of Dark Age of Camelot.
Great class design.
I love the class because it's interesting. It's unique. The idea of this thing that truly relies on these summoned creatures. That's a cool mechanic. I love playing like Necromancer and Diablo too. Like there's something about that. I think Earth Pets, they don't feel too bad. I think Ice Pets don't feel too bad. There's been an uptick due to some corrections that were made to the system for Air Pets. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of that has driven this request for confusion to be more available, to just have more counters. Right now, the way the mechanic works, the interaction works with a Thurgist on the enemy team, or when you're playing it, is I'm going to cast a pet. It will eventually ruin your day. What can you do to stop me from doing that?
Yeah.
A lot of characters have a counterplay mechanic. If you're a caster, you nuke it down. If you're a tank, you swing at it on your way by. There's a lot of classes that have a way of doing it. Supports, there are some supports that have ways of mitigating that. Bards have access to a confusion, and minstrels can confuse. They're not support. I'm going to put them in that category right now. But it's a little trickier. You can kind of melee a pet down, and Earth Pets have good health points to, counteract. When you're dealing with the Air Pet, it's a little too either tanky in my opinion, or the 1,000 unit stun range might be just a little too far. I think they still need to be viable, because if you remember in the past, they were not used at all. You didn't see an air Thurgist at all because the pets didn't stun.
It's air wizards, man. No air pets.
So I think there could be some sort of tweak to the range or to the hit points, or I could see classes, and this is going to start to bleed into the rest of this. I look at Friar specifically. This is not because I played Friar on Phoenix. This is because actually the Wardens have a root spell. I think it highlighted something really cool. It has nothing to do with crowd control. It has everything to do with my win condition philosophy in this game.
Yeah,
about
I love
initiative.
That you said win condition. I love that. Yeah.
I look at initiative in a competitive setting as this is how you're going to really set up for a win condition. Initiative. Friar is the only support class in the game that does not have a 1500 unit range offensive spell. People are like, well, look at CLs. You can get a CL skill. And I'm like, casting a 5-hour static cast time nuke is not gaining you any initiative.
Hey, it's an option at least.
So it's an option, but I cannot contest an opponent knowing that we're on fairly equal footing. I'm going to use the word fairly because everyone has a little bit different stacks and range and whatever. But in general, now that Wardens have a 1500 range interrupt spell, I'm going to call it interrupt because I don't care if it roots them or not, but I can help my team gain initiative to lead to our win condition. And Friar cannot do that right now. So we're cleric, healer, shaman, druid, bar, every single one has something that they can do to help their team from an offensive perspective. Friar can't. So I think confusion on Friar, oddly enough, doesn't help them against Thurgis, does help them against Animist. But I think giving the Friar a 1500 range spell makes a world of difference for the fun feeling of the class. If your team is winning on Friar, it's absolutely boring. If your team's losing on Friar, you don't feel like you can contribute to the shift. All you can do is keep your team alive a little longer and hope they do something to create the shift.
To be fair, that is what a support class is.
I actually I think it's a good.
You must have loved Cleric back in the day with the old kit.
I think that's such a common. I think it's a really common. Perception on support classes. I learned this from League of Legends, so this is not me coming up this on my own. Support classes are not healers. They need to have a have a proactive impact, and this is why you have like support classes in League as an example that are offensive, that are engagers, initiators, tanky, and it's one of those fun things that like pack healer is fun because you can impact. I think
that's I will say that is it's a very well said statement, and I when I play, I like to play on classes that have a high impact on the win condition. So I echo that, and given the context, I can see that Friar helps you get to that win condition, but does it have a high impact on the fight? I don't know, maybe twirl your staff counterclockwise instead of clockwise and you win the fight. Good on you. But,
did I hear throw staff? I think Friars are getting throw weapon confirmed. Oh, yeah. We're getting.
I feel like I've been misquoted. Let's review the transcript on that one.
We don't need to look back at that bot. No, but that's just like my long roundabout way of I could see confusion being a good, fair, balanced utility on things like Friar, Warden, Shaman. It's something you're going to have one off in there. It's going to add some utility to support, and it's going to be something that can offset this idea that pets are a problem for some of these classes.
Yeah, I think. I mean, I think the key is you're bringing up the range interrupt component, right? Because that's a massive thing to add to a kit to a class that doesn't have it. So, I mean, confusion is such. I mean, it's like to take a step back. Is what are you actually looking to solve by adding confusion? I think the most people that you would talk to wouldn't bring up I need a 1500 range interrupt. They'd bring up what's the core problem?
Third pets and animus pets,
right? Exactly, right. So is the issue the lack of confusion, or I mean, I'm not saying there is an issue, but is the issue have to do with the kits that you're going up against?
Sure.
So exactly right. And so I think you brought up a good point. Is like Thurgis is Thurg. I'm sorry. I don't know if anybody remembers this. But in 2008, there was an announcement for like a Dark Age of Chem on Origin server. Do you remember this, Psylence? I don't know. Before we met.
Yeah.
But in the intro post, one thing that they actually wrote was like, "We are launching with Thurgis will not be part of this server," and that made me laugh. That made me laugh so hard because it's such a class where in 2001, 2002, nobody knew about the interrupt system. Nobody knew about like pets. I think, and when I played like day one, is you could actually mez and root and stun pets. There wasn't the CC immunity, so they're just were the joke of the town. They were absolutely hilarious. And then has the player skill, or not even necessarily player skill, but knowledge of the game changes, right? Certain classes get stronger and stronger. I'll never forget, it's like 2004, 2005, the Bluebee invasion of Mordred for my NA folks it's like every group ran a Thurg, and it's just like, if every group, you have the entire gamut of everything to pick, right, in the game, and every group has a Thurg, oh man, is it a fun dynamic for the game? So the game has continued to evolve. I'd say there's a lot more knowledge on how to contain Thurgs. There's a lot of tools to contain them. We have a really good change that I'm a big fan of, is like Thurg in a nutshell can kind of contain. Obviously, I think I will say that probably the highest, they have the most impact on a fight for amount left open. Would you agree with that? So it's like if a Thurg's open for 15 seconds in a fight, they have higher percentage of winning a fight compared to any other group, any other class in the game. For that 15 seconds of being uninterrupted, I think that's a pretty fair statement.
Yeah, they're up there. It's like Thurgis Bard healer,
Bard healer, right? Yeah, so I think that's a pretty good statement. But is there enough tools to deal with Thurgis, an open Thurgis? Well, you interrupt. Okay, well they're gonna mock, and mock sucks. Mock is one of those things where this game is balanced around these realm abilities, and it becomes part of like, if they mock, well you mock. Oh, Thurg mock, well healer mocks amnesias, right? So it's kind of this weird thing where it's like the counter is the counter to the counter, and you're like, is that good gameplay? So one change I'm very happy that we made, I think we actually did it. It might have been season 1. I don't remember. Is that the Thurg pets are affected by the mock level, right? So instead of having full HP Mach 1 Thurg pets, it's like they have like 20 HP or something like that. It's kind of modified. But still, you're still having to swing on these pets, especially with the air pets, right? Air pets have higher HP, lower duration. Ice pets are the middle one. Earth Lords or Earth pets have the longer duration, faster speed, low HP. Kind of the balancing mechanism. But maybe it's the mock air pets that have too much HP, because maybe I don't even know off the top of my head if their stun is affected by the duration of the mock. I highly doubt it is, but maybe that's something you can look at. Maybe I just thought of the camera and I'm doing all these hand motions. I'm sorry, I'm a very
that's what the camera's for. People want the hand motions.
Look at this. I'm just gonna keep doing this. I just saw it on the corner of my eye.
I come from a very, very Italian family, and there's on both sides. So yeah, there's a lot of hand movements waving around. Don't hit the camera. Yeah. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, but so go back to Thurgs. It's like, is there enough counters in the game? Because confusion's is a tool for a very specific situation, right? And you got to talk about the kits. Why do you need confusion? Is it the kit? And so, look at everything. Maybe it's the air pet. Stun, not the stun duration. The range of the stun. Maybe that's an issue because the tick rate is so much higher here that 1K actually translates to maybe like 500K on older versions of Dark Age. Also, I think a very important note is our pathing, knock on wood, is pretty good. A lot of work's gone into that thing. And if you look at live pathing, the Thurg pets will zigzag a lot because it's not a straight line. And so by having these little nuances with the zigzag, you're reducing the time to react to a Thurg pet incoming on you, right? Is that making sense? So it's like the time to make the correct counter is lowered by having efficient code. And I think all of these things kind of add up to like, maybe Thurgs need some type of tuning. I'm not saying they do. They've already been tuned slightly by the mock issue. But yeah, I think it's just something we're very cognizant of, is looking at the game holistically as a board. Trying to keep Dark Age, but obviously, like, if something is overwhelmingly strong, then it makes sense to kind of reduce the kit a little bit. So I think, if I'm understanding correctly, Confusion itself, I mean, the spell is very isolated in its implementation. Like, it's like what you use it for. But is the issue actually Confusion, or is it actually the kit of another class? And so for most of my conversations I've had with some really smart people, it kind of circles back. To maybe you need to look at the kit and not necessarily adding more complexity of additional spells to the game.
I think that's a fair way of looking at it. I was trying to maybe do a 2 birds with 1 stone situation.
Oh, sorry, I got ahead of myself.
No, I think that's good though. I like I know when playing like Warden, like let's assume you just remove like air pets altogether from the game. It's still one of those things like I'm going to be casting heals. A pet's coming at me. I think what causes the issue, and I'm trying to think about like in the moment, I know that I'm going to be stuck meleeing this pet down. And there's nothing I can do to not have to deal with that transition from casting to melee. And maybe there's a system issue here that exists just innate to Dark Age of the time it takes to move from meleeing to casting and the interrupt code.
Yep.
And maybe it's the root of it is interrupt code in general. It's an important function of Daok. It's become a core tenant, but that transition feels really bad when I've got to swing at something 2 or 3 times as a warden and then deal with a interrupt time of having to cast heals again. And there's nothing I can do to save anything. Like you're stuck there.
Can't save little Johnny that's getting trained. Saddest story ever told. I mean, it's just one of those things.
Let's call little Johnny Gret because that'll make me happy.
Gret.
We love Gret.
Little Gret. We love Gret. But then also you run into any third kind of worth their weight. They're going to do earth pet, 2 earth pets and an ice pet on you. Now you're covered because you kind of covers that distance, right? So the melee thing, it's cute, but now you got this pet stunning you. You're getting pulled away. Someone's running out of range. You don't let them come back. They come back, then they're yelling at you for not healing them. They don't melee the ice pet next to them. A lot of good points. I think there's a lot of things to look at. Like we said, I think 2 hours ago, right? So you gotta look at things holistically in the game. A lot of solutions to problems come from conversations like this. Is there even a problem? I don't know. Do I just say get good? No, I think our players are really good. That poor cat's getting skinned in a lot of ways. That is an awful metaphor. That is a disgusting metaphor. But
it's actually a complex issue. There's so many systems involved here. I think that's good. I'll go down to just the list on the next one here. This has been something that's been popping up here recently. The beauty and power of Snapshot Armsman.
Oh my God, I love it. They're the greatest.
What it was originally like a Realm Rank 5 and then added into the crossbow spec, and now it's just there.
Memes can be dreams, baby. Crossbow Armsman?
Who knew that was what's going to define 8v8 in 2025 Daok?
Memes can be dreams, dude.
I'm curious about if maybe there's some bug component here, but I need someone to maybe check me on this, but I think the crossbow range is like, is it 1,500 units or something on there? I don't know what it is.
It's 1,250 or 1,500. There's a difference between like short bows, composite, but throwing weapons, they're all different. I want to say I'll go with 1,500.
I think 12. I'm reading maybe 1,250 in here, which is I was playing in a group the other day and trying to nearsight the arms. Who thought that would be the need in 2025 deck is you got to nearsight the armsman. So I'm running red nearsight, targeting the arms with red nearsight, and I don't think it's being affected by the nearsight.
Just coming at you.
Yes. So an on the move, uninterruptible casting spell at range that can't be affected. It feels like a lack of counters. Maybe the near sight is unintended. Maybe it is intended. But I think that if I was going to highlight something, definitely something worth looking into.
Memes can be dreams. I was actually in the Armsman channel I think last week. Someone pinged me in there and they said Armsman sucks. This guy's like, is it gonna be the worst class? I'm like, dude, what are you talking about? Like, it's amazing. Armsman's a great class. Sure, they don't have crippling blow. Rest in peace. Dumbest favorite style I've ever used in Dark Age. But they're still, I love their kit. But
I think Armsman is one of the best classes. It's amazing.
It's so much fun. I really like what we did with giving them. How is it? Oh gosh, tactics, I believe. Right? Is that the right skill name? It's been so long.
Tactics. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'll look at the snapshot interaction of Nearsight. That's actually hilarious if it's not affected by Nearsight. But snapshot Armsman 2025. Just get good, Psylence.
My gosh! I'm getting told
you died to a snapshot Armsman, man. How's that feel? How's that make you feel?
I'm being called out. I blame. Gret wants me to call out and Draconal for really bringing that to light in the 8v8 drafts there and ruining a few select individuals' lives.
I believe someone posted a GIF of it, and it was the funniest thing I've ever seen. Just this Terminator reloading the crossbow, slowly walking towards someone who just wants to punch their keyboard.
So that that's one small other feature it might be adding to the Albion win rate in drafts. Okay, I think what other ones do we want to talk about here? I had there was questions about. I have plenty of thoughts on minstrels and things like that. I have thoughts on Animus and Thurgis.
You need to host the stream sometime where you just go on a monologue with these thoughts on your Animus stream and your minstrel dream, and just you'd be like one of those preachers on a college campus, just shouting.
Oh no! Oh gosh!
Well, hear the gospel. The gospel of Psylence.
Listen, you let me know when I need to prepare my PowerPoint presentation to deliver to the dev team. I will get it.
PowerPoints, dude. I would.
I'll give a speech. Before you know it, I'll have all of the Dark Age of Camelot balance issues cured, and everyone will hate them.
Hey, I could cure them in a second. Like I said, level 1 fighters.
All in Humberton.
I don't want any half ogre. Just dwarf only. More con. Humberton. That's all you get.
I love it. I love it.
Balanced thing ever. No, but in all seriousness, I mean, the frustration and the beauty of the game is the asymmetrical nature of it, and it's a very, everybody probably watching is very familiar with all the there's a ton of nuances to the game. There's a bunch of abstract things that in the tome of knowledge that you only you may know that other people don't know. That's also what makes it fun. Will the game ever be perfectly balanced? Hell no, it won't be. But I think what you can do is try and limit the frustration and elevate the fun experience for fights in general, for sure. We're just gonna keep on iterating, keep on working towards that kind of golden goose of being a perfectly balanced game. But see what happens.
I want to add just one thing to that. I think you said Dark Age will never be a perfectly balanced game, and honestly, I'm not sure if, like I said, I don't know if people who ask for perfectly balanced, I don't think they know what they're asking for. And you mentioned this really, Dark Age is an asymmetrical game by design, and it keeps it interesting and intriguing. And I'm okay with the variety and team group compositions. Is what makes it. You're never going to have. You can swap two classes in one group and completely change the dynamic of that group, the strengths, the weaknesses, what it's going to be good again and what it's not. I think that's awesome, and I hope that while we all want a game that is balanced, and I'm going to say the word balanced by definition is the most classes and group compositions and everything is viable. Yep. And has this is the second part of it. I like things that have high skill caps, but also not too low of a skill floor, because it feels bad when the skill floor, like a good example of a class that has like a relatively high skill floor. I'm going to say this and people are going to maybe disagree with it, but like wizards and warriors. Wizards and warriors are things that like the role of the class is pretty defined. It's not hyper complex. You can put a new player on wizard and they'll kind of get the idea, right? They're like, oh, I gotta make sure I'm not getting interrupted. I'm at range. I'm casting my damage spells. I'm doing my thing. Cool. There are certainly way better wizards than way bad wizards. There's a range, but it's the gap there of performance is not as big as, say, pack healer. You get someone who's bad at pack healer and it's like it's a misery. They can't do anything. They're just completely locked out and there's no contribution. But you have someone who's amazing at pack healer and they're redefining the war map. Like it's changing things. And I think part of the balance is like giving more opportunity for high, skill, unique, smart play, unique ideas and being creative with the class without sacrificing people who want to play the class, and raising that up a bit. So that's how I, in my mind, envision what good balance looks like. Viability and having raising both the skill floor and skill ceilings a bit.
Yeah, I think that's very well said. And once again, everybody wants the same thing. You want the most viable comps and most like variety in the game. And I think that's kind of a healthy meta. So that's kind of the goal. Everybody wants the same thing.
Except for Venice, who wants more 25-minute fights in drafts. Just 25 minutes straight through. He wants to be able to use his third realm rank 5 twice.
I just can't. I mean, I've seen some of these ridiculous fights, and I just want to see how sweaty the people are after that. Like, just frickin'. It's like that, that airplane gif. It's the guy just sweating in the cockpit. I imagine that's everybody playing in those fights.
They're fun. I think that's as you guys continue more conversations and develop new systems or new dungeons or new items or new class balance changes, I'm sure we'll hear more about that. And 100%. We've talked about some of your guys' initial thoughts, and I also just love to hear that you guys are observing all of the variety of plays, from Zergs, watching the drafts, watching the small man scenes, seeing how people are engaging with the content, because I think that's how this game continues to, and bringing it back, this full circle, to develop and iterate on the development.
That's the word of the day.
Word of the day.
Iterate.
So I'm really excited that that's something you guys are doing, and that, balance still remains top of mind. I fully am being dead serious. I will put together a PowerPoint presentation on any class or any skill.
I have actually had a good amount of presentations, PowerPoint sent my way since Eden started. So I should just make a folder of them all, and they're great. I look at them all, and I talk to a lot of people. So, if you get bored during your job, Psylence, and you want to send me the most beautiful deck ever on your creative implementations of Minstrel and Animist, I'll read it. I'll read it for you.
I think the only bit more entertaining for the stream is if you take some of the horrible PowerPoints you have, and I get some of my funny friends that I play Daok with here to present those PowerPoints.
Hey, I would love that.
I could get Brett on camera to present a really bad idea, something like, let's give Savages baseline nuke or something. Yeah, and he'll sell it. He'll sell it like he believes it.
That's great. I mean, I'm in. It sounds great. I to be honest, the bad presentations have mainly been my own. I think I'll give him some of the old ones, and he can take a look. There's some bad ideas on there.
I love it. All right, we're at the end. We're definitely way over what we thought the original time was going to be. I will turn this over to you. If you have give you the last word or last question, or maybe take some of the pressure off you. If you have any questions for me, you've asked a couple, but if you have any questions at all, if you want to know my thoughts or opinions on anything, or my thoughts and opinions on any of the people, I'll tell you what Gret's pant size is right now. Whatever you want to know, you can ask me and throw the heat on me. Make me look like the fool.
I gotta admit, it's been such a good conversation. I guess let's go with this. So first, I just want to. Can I look like deep into my camera and
just stare at the camera.
Can I just can I get uncomfortably close to every?
Get in there.
I'm just gonna. Hello, chat. Thank you all for your support for Eden. I'm personally super excited for season 3. Really looking forward to seeing all you out there. It's meant a lot for your support over the years. Doing this isn't easy, and a lot of your kind words kind of keeps us going, makes us all worth it. So I wanted to thank you all so much for your help. And yeah, can't wait to see y'all come out there season 3, and hopefully we have a nice smooth launch. I'm gonna uncomfortably back up from the camera now. I felt like I was.
That was beautiful. That was great.
Was that pretty good? That was all ad-lib too.
Yeah,
from the heart. But I meant everything. I love the community. Y'all make it all worth it, and it's nice that in 2025 we can all come together and kill each other in a nice way. I don't know. That wasn't so good. But here we go, Psylence. One question for you, and then we should probably dip since you're getting yelled at. Which class and realm are you playing in season 3, and why?
Oh, no.
So there you go.
Oh no!
Is that a hard-hitting question?
It feels wrong. Feels wrong to admit this on stream. I'm going to be playing day 1, playing Thurgist.
Oh man!
Very ethical class. Very ethical. After all of the bitching I said that Thurgist needs some addressing, I'm playing Thurgist.
No, it's better than the other way around, where it's like you're asking for buffs to something and then you're gonna play it. So I'll take that. You're like, nerf me.
Yeah, I'm asking for nerfs. Hey, you heard that, chat? Ethical player right here. Ethical. I'm gonna play a class that I'm asking.
Do people still say that
for nerfs?
Ethical comp.
Yes, I use that all the time. Yeah, ethical comp.
Unethical hit. You didn't come and it came at a 10-degree angle off the hill. You didn't bow on ink.
And I'll also, in all fairness, I will still dragon swoop your group if I get the chance.
That's right.
I'll hit them with the dragon swoop.
You got to hit them off of that Briefine Hill, man. That's where it's at. Run around run that little hilltop right there.
But yeah, that's what I'm playing. I'll be playing Cyclone. That's how you can tell.
Oh, okay. Okay.
For those who try to find me, I feel like I need to make a public address. I get this all the time. Here's a fun fact. I get in my DMs. I won't be playing the game. I'll take a little bit of a break for a couple weeks, and I'll get a message like, "Are you Psy Shaman?" And I'm like, "Okay, listen here. My names are far more creative than Psy Shaman. Okay, I don't come up with this Psy into this. I spend hours thinking about the perfect name. My wizard, because Earth was a big thing, his name is Seismic, but it's PSY. Seismic. Okay, my Thurgist, my wind wizard, is named Cyclone, like a tornado, but with PSY. Okay, the Psylence thing was because I liked crowd control, so my healer and stuff like that are all named Psylence. They're very clever. My proudest one, I gave up my name, which I used for years, was Braggian. A lot of people know me as Braggian.
Scald, right? That was the Scald. I remember
was my
that guy.
Scald. Yes, I think we just lost your stream, your camera, but.
I'm still here.
I was Braggian because Braggy was the god of the Scalds, but for a long time, and I gave it up to go for Cycled, which is a combination of PSY Psy and Scald KALD, and because you get CC cycled on Scald, you get Res cycled on Scald, you're cycling your DDs and chants. It was such a triple entendre there for coming up with this name. So when someone's like, "Are you Psy Druid?" I'm like, "No, I'm no. That's an insult. That's an insult to me and my creativity."
I think this is a big difference between you and I. You know what the name of my troll berserker was?
What was it?
It was Big Boy. You want to know what?
Oh, I love it.
It's a big boy. That's it. I'm done. That's it.
Love it. That's great. That's brilliant. So
thank you.
Thank you for coming on here. For any of you guys who see someone out there with the PSY at the beginning, it's not me. You'll know it's me. Mostly because I'm loud. But thank you, Shandril, for coming on here, for sharing the thoughts, for giving a ton of in-depth detail ahead of. I mean, launch is less than 2 weeks away.
Yep. I'm ticking.
Yep. And so being able to have more detail, this helped me. I know more about what I'm getting into in season 3 from this. Awesome. So thank you so much for coming on. Thank you everyone in the chat for the questions you guys asked. I tried to get through as many of them as I could that were relevant topic, and there's a lot of scrolling on there, but thank you for jumping on here, for watching, for your questions, for your feedback. I'm taking notes. I know Shandril's taking notes. He's the eye in the sky every day, all the time, watching all of your guys' fights. He's truly omnipresent, and if it's not him, there's probably someone from the Dayox staff keeping an eye on things. So shout out to the whole Eden team there, and we look forward to seeing you guys. What is it, March 29th?
March 29th, yep. We'll announce the time as soon as we know. So, but thank you so much, Psylence. It was a pleasure as always. Love talking with you.
Hey, thank you so much. You take care. Take care, everyone. Have a great day. And Shandril, I'll see you out there on the battlefield.
All right, sounds good.
Bye, everyone.
It's all about humanity. Humanity.